Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. Actually, we have a great interview with an independent journalist from the Like It or Not. Told you I was going to have her on today. I'm going to have Rebecca Azor on today. But beforehand, let me talk to my peeps. Michael Rudnin, welcome aboard. I see that you have your pieces out already and early. Alex Corporate founders are complicit in state-based assault on voting rights and democracy. More than 300 voting rights groups and their allies demand the corporations cut ties with the American Legislative Exchange. I've been talking about that organization for years. If you take a look at why all these different bills look the same from state to state, that is the organization that keeps it together. ALEC. Remember that name, ALEC. Okay, America's dynastic super rich are rigging the rules to protect their power. A new report on the state of dynastic wealth in America explodes the myth of the hard-working, meritorious rich. Have a chapter in my book, How to Make America Utopia. I talk about the meritocracy is a figment of your imagination. It really is. If America was a meritocracy, it certainly isn't now. It never was. Ask who really invented the cotton gin and who made the spoils from it. You ever heard about the real McCoy? There's a lot of things Americans don't know. And anytime we come close to knowing about it, somebody says, oh, we can't teach that because it's going to make some people feel guilty. Oh my God. I'm not going to finish reading that one. It's pretty long. The political establishment doesn't want you to know the economy is rigged. Hey, Democrats, don't go after the whistleblower. Go after the tax evaders and the corruptors. I'm with you, Michael. ProPublica's bombshell story, which we covered, about the financial malfeasance of the richest Americans, has stirred bipartisan outrage in Washington. I don't know how bipartisan that is, brother. I don't. Prove to me that it's bipartisan. I haven't read your article. I'll read it later. Earth is now trapping unprecedented heat. The amount of energy that remains trapped in the planet accelerates global warming. The amount of energy trapped has doubled in the last decades, aiding to rapid global warming. A recent study has revealed, according to an international team of scientists, including NASA and NOAA, the planet's climate is determined by Earth's energy imbalance, which means the difference between the amount of energy the planet receives from the sun and the amount it radiates back. And here's another issue. A lot of people don't know this, right? But the reality is, what you see happening is that, how should I say this? What happens is when ice melts, right? The color of the water is darker than the white ice. So when you go to the poles and you see more water as opposed to ice, the white ice used to radiate the heat that comes onto it as light that then gets transferred to infrared. Well, the infrared, it reflected it back out. Not anymore. Black is a color that absorbs more infrared heat. So it goes ahead and it's claimed in the body. So in effect, the water itself becomes a heat sink, where ice wasn't. So, science. So when you hear those people talk about, oh, well, when it melts the ice, we're going to have a clear route across, tell them the truth. U.S. likely to claim hottest place on Earth as heat tightens grip up on more than 100 million. Dozens of daily heat records have been shattered, including several all-time records. Predicted hundreds more could fall this weekend. I know. Sad but true. Egberto, there was a video you tagged me in. Yes, you tagged me in a video. I didn't see the video yet. I didn't have the time to really go up and look at it. But based on what you told me it's about, I know about. It was funny when Biden talked about getting involved with other people's election. You were absolutely right. America has gotten into the election in Panama with Omar Torrijos Herrera, along with also Ford in Panama when we had the overthrow of the government, and in countless other governments in Latin America and elsewhere, and including in Iran, when the Shah of Iran got, the overthrow in Iran. So all of that is true. Paul Fleming, welcome from ATL. Nanette Bird-Smith, welcome aboard. E2247, Egberto, why is it that song, The Eyes of Texas, is considered to be racist undertones? I think they cleared that up at my university, didn't they? I wasn't following it though, so I wasn't following it, but they did say it have racial overtones. I don't know. I wasn't really a big, hey, The Eyes of Texas kind of song, but look it up and tell me. Bruce Pollard, hello, my friend. Linda Jo Kissinger, hey, beautiful people, she says. And you all are beautiful. Bridge MCP, hola a todos. Hey, Bridge, if you want to start with hola, you have to say hola a todos or hola todos. Actually, preferably hola a todos. You know what I mean, girlfriend? Bridge MCP, not on FB. So, hey to FB peeps, AVQ. Linda Jo Kissinger, saluting Bridge. Eric Hayes says, hey, y'all. One request, please get the censorship and cancellation out of sports. I know you have an infatuation with El Senor Barkley. I am not for cancel culture, in case anybody wants to know. But at times, cancel culture becomes relative. We'll talk about that later. Michael Rudden and Egberto talking about a positive feedback loop. By 2035, the Arctic Ocean will be ice-free. It's otherwise known as the Blue Ocean Event. Oh, don't say that, Rudden. We're going to fix it before that, please. Texas has major heat coming now. Abbott tells folks to turn their air conditioner up to 78. Yep, we can't take the cold and we can't take the heat. Cancel culture refers to the mass withdrawal of support from the public figures or celebrities who have done things that aren't socially accepted today. Yes, but it actually has migrated to much more. All right, let's go ahead and I'm going to my interview is a bit longer than usual, so I'm going to go ahead and start it now, and then we'll continue with the rest of the show after that. So let's go ahead and get Rebecca Azor. Welcome to one more edition of Politics and Rhino. Egberto Will is your host. Thank you so kindly for being with us today. We have a wonderful guest today. Rebecca Azor is the co-host of or let me say it better. Rebecca is the host of Like It or Not under the Benjamin Dixon Show's platform. She is an insightful independent journalist with a very informed opinion. And one of the reasons I wanted her here is because of said informed opinion with a passion. Welcome to Politics Done Right. Rebecca, how are you doing today?
Thank you so much, Egberto. I'm doing really, really good. I'm happy to be here. This is funny because I've been invited to speak on a lot of people's platforms, and I just don't do it much because I'm usually really busy. But I absolutely, I love when we have family friends to the show, and I think that you are one of them. So I was like, let's just go ahead and let's get right into it. So I am your first. This is my first outside of our show when it comes to politics, speaking about politics. So this is wonderful. I'm happy to
Well,
be
look,
here.
I am honored to have you here because let me tell you, from the time I started appearing ever so often on your show, I am just enthralled with the passion that you guys bring to politics, and I think most importantly, it's a lot of fun. Like I watch you in the mornings, and you're talking about just about everything that touches the average person, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and that is and to be blunt, I am starting to learn a few things because I tend to be sort of a straight arrow politics guy, and that can get sort of boring. And watching you guys is just it's just pleasant in the morning. Let me just tell you that.
No, thank you. I really, really appreciate it. Literally being on the show and meeting people like you guys, it's great because we're all talking about the same thing, but we probably package it different. But there's
Right.
nothing wrong with, just being on the same way, right? And we all look different, we all speak different languages and things like that. But the message and what we're trying to do is all the same. And I love it because we have these different generations, and usually there's like a division there. And the fact that we can have you on the show and I can see literally where you are with it and how you put down the information, and then you can actually like come on and see how we do it. And my thing is to do it in a fun manner, and and bring people on so they can have fun too, but at the same time, like, also get educated by people like you. So this is why I think it's so good for both of our worlds to blend, but for us to accept each other at where we are, knowing that when we get whatever fight it is that we're fighting for, it's for all of us to be okay. It's for all of us to be good. So
And we all do it together. Now, let me tell you, I want first of all, I want folks to make sure and always tune in to the Benjamin Dixon Show. Tell us a little bit about when your show's at and time and how they can get there. Because one of the things I want to start doing, Rebecca, is making sure that we all co-mingle and we let people know that there are different places to go to get different flavors of good actual information. So talk to me.
yes. So, well, basically, you can find our show first and foremost every morning, Monday through Friday, on YouTube, the YouTube space, Facebook space. We're on Twitter as well, but YouTube is our prominent format, and we stream from there every morning at 8:30 a.m. We have a
Eastern.
DJ, yeah, Eastern Standard Time. Yes, so everybody gets a little like, oh gosh, I gotta wake up in the morning, but they still catch us, and you can also catch it after we record as well, because we'll have it on live play for you. But 8:30 in the morning, we'll have the DJ start you off for a little bit, and enjoy that. And then we get on and we'll just have a conversation a bit about our day, and then we'll go right into some politics. Sometimes we'll have some guests on like yourself, or some political guests, or just different guests that come as experts on a subject matter that we may be talking about, so that we can push further the issue that we're talking about, or just come from the mouth of the expert. Because sometimes we're not experts. I mean, we have our commentary and we do give you the ideas and the stories, but it's so much better to have these representatives sometimes, these activists, just all across the board, these other media members in the same space as us. So you guys can come and find that. And then we have news that's for the culture, like millennials like to say. Like we like to say, it's for the culture. Sometimes where things are happening within the Black community that won't be covered on any other mainstream media, and we like to talk about that and get to like different conversations about it. And I like positive news. We do this thing called Black Joy, because sometimes we can take you through a heavy start of the day when it comes to politics that could actually break you. And then so I like to ending with something positive for people. It could be a quote, it could be some videos, just something fun for us to just have conversations about. When it in most uh, first and most of all, it's always going to be related to Black issues. So
Well, let me tell you, I want the audience to know a little bit about Rebecca Azor. So give us a little bio about Rebecca, because I mean, like I said, when you listen to your commentary, you actually see that you are everybody's woman. In other words, you go out there and people can feel that the things you talk about are things that they are going to live through. I heard you talking yesterday when I was on your show about what you went through, some tribulations you went through at the job, etc. So tell me a little about you first, and then I'm going to ask you a few questions about that as well.
sure thing. So, me first, again, my name is Rebecca Azor. So, I am Haitian. I come from, I'm a product of immigrants out of Haiti, and I am a journalist, right? I started out, I went to Florida A&M University, which is a predominantly, it's a great, I call it the number one HBCU in the nation. It's a predominantly Black school, historical Black university out in Tallahassee. And I had the blessing of going to that school, where I got a degree in broadcast journalism. And I used to do local news there. And I also did the local news for the school. I did the local news for the local news station there. And I also did radio. Coming out of there, I left and I moved to New York, and I started working for like reality shows and working with them and fashion journalism. So I'm all across the board. And then when I got my master's degree, I moved over to Atlanta, and I got my master's degree in what they call new media, what we see where media has changed, and we were able to flip media in the social media space, doing like using your Twitter or whatever to put out news or YouTube. So I got my master's degree in that. So I'm well versed all across the platforms when it comes to media and journalism. And so I partnered with Ben. We used to work at this company. That's when I got into politics. I was never really into politics. I was just used to, as a journalist, regurgitating the news, not really being able to have an opinion, because how they frame it is, you have to be unbiased at all times. Although I wasn't realizing that some of these companies that I was working for had picked a chose a side, which made them biased. And sometimes I was complicit, and I didn't understand at the time with the stories that were being told. And I
Becca,
wanted to see.
I want to break you 1 second.
Yeah.
Please remember your trend, because you just made a very, very important statement that I want our audience to realize. When
Yeah.
Rebecca says that she in old media, it was always spoken about, we have to be completely unbiased. In other words, this person says, the other said. But what she realized is that there was implicit bias in what was actually chosen as the story. So
Yes.
that stuff about the media being unbiased was never true.
Hmm.
Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted people to understand that, because it's a very important point you made there, my friend.
Yeah. Yes. And I say that because it's something I had to learn as a journalist, and I have so many other journalist friends who had to learn that as well. Some of them still being in the mainstream media, and some of them having to go on and start their own. I was blessed with an opportunity that just fell in my hands after I graduated with my master's degree. I just applied for a job, and the company wanted me because I was Haitian, and to them I was exotic. I talked about that on my show today. I was exotic, and I could speak about the Trump issues, and so I was working for them. But little did I know I would meet Benjamin Dixon, who is my co-host, Benjamin
Mhm.
Dixon, and him to show me actually, hey, you have a voice in this politics thing, right? You don't have to just be straightforward talking about Trump or having these conversations that don't mean anything to you. You have, because outside we'll have these conversations. He said, if you feel this way, change your stories to that so you can speak and have your opinions. And I started seeing the benefits of that. I started seeing that, oh my goodness, I actually have a voice. I actually feel something. I'm actually learning about politics, and I'm teaching people who aren't on the higher level or the lower level, but regular everyday people about politics. And it doesn't have to be worded in this way, or it doesn't have to be worded in that way. This is just like, hey, I'm just like you, and this is how I feel about it. And it just really, from there I just began to grow and began to grow, and I started changing the stories from just Donald Trump to black women and their healthcare, to black people and their lack of knowledge when it comes to their local legislators. I started learning and teaching, and that was really what got me to a place where I'm like, I want to stay in politics, but I also want to add some culture to it as well. And I also got the chance and the opportunity to talk about Haiti. And that was the biggest thing for me coming into politics, because I was able to tie the two together: American politics and Haitian politics, what's happening in Haiti, how America has had their foot on their necks of Haitian people, and how it ties together, how I can reframe the narrative of how people view Haiti as the poorest country in the Western atmosphere. Like, it's just hemisphere, but it's just been a roller coaster ride, but it's been beneficial. And I don't think I want to leave politics, but I can also add the things that I love also within that realm too. So that's really been my storyline when it comes to that. I know it's all over the place, but one
No,
thing about it is I stayed in media, and I took a break from media. And had to go into corporate because I spoke my mind after
and you
working
have to pay
for.
the bills.
Yeah, I had to pay the bills, and media doesn't always pay.
Right.
And
You
working. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, no. You were talking about Haiti, right? And
Yeah.
like one of the reasons, like I said, I love talking to you is because you always bring up these subjects, and that covers issues today that I actually want to expand on. You brought up Haiti, and you brought up the poverty in Haiti, right? And people
Mhm.
always look down and say, "Oh, look at the poorest nation on in the hemisphere, and it's a black nation," not realizing that Haiti was the first black independent
Independent.
country. That they revolted. They did what the founding fathers of America did. They
Yes.
didn't like working, taxation without representation, labor
Hmm.
without representation,
Exactly.
and interestingly, what they never tell you is that one of the problems with Haiti is the blockade of the Americans and others because they were a free country, and that the slaves, the former slaves, had to pay.
Hey.
They had
Mhm.
to pay France for their freedom, and they have been doing that for centuries. And
Centuries.
that is, and henceforth, the poverty. It is the
Yes.
same capitalist system screwing a country and taking away their wherewithal. So I just had to say that once you brought up Haiti, and
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
have to understand. Oh, Haiti's not a basket case. Haiti was made an issue by the capitalists of around the world. So
Yeah.
just thought I might say that. Anyway, sorry to interrupt
Oh
that.
no, I know that. See, that's what I do. I might start talking and I'll have this point, I'll have this point, I'll take it everywhere. So yeah, that's another look, that's a story for another day. But I'm
Right.
glad that you pointed out all those things, and I want people to go and research those things and how they tie it together. American politics, American leaders, and how they've had their foot on the neck of Haiti, and how we've been having to pay France for our entire existence of being free after we fought for our freedom against our oppressors. But go ahead and Google that. It's a simple Google search and you can find it. Um, but yes, working in politics, I actually, me and Ben grew something, and we decided to break away and do something even bigger, working with a well known activist. We always do this, but he shall not be named. But we worked with a really well known activist, huge activist, and we grew something there. And then I realized that not this is when Ben started teaching me not all kin folk is skin folk. That's what he said. Or not all skin folk is kin folk. Just because they say they're an activist, they're fighting for it, then you get right with these people and you're excited to work with them, and they're not doing the work. So I had to break away from that because I called him out. I called that particular activist out, and he's very popular. And I called him out. I said, "Hey, this is not. You're not doing the work that you said you're doing. You're stealing. You're stealing content. You're doing all of this. There's nothing being done. Ben is the one that's doing all of the work. Ben is the one that's pushing these things and actually wants to do it with his heart. And because I spoke out about it, they it was a hard situation because now I felt like I was blackballed in the community. Little old me spoke up against a huge activist, and it was like, now I'm so mentally stressed. I had to take a break. So I went into the corporate world. I said, I'm just going to take a year off. I'm going to go into corporate. Me going into corporate, and I can't name my business. I would love to name the
You
corporation that I
can't.
work with, but if people go down my timeline, they'll put two and two together and realize. But me working in corporate, and I thought it would be great just to sit down for a little bit, take a breather as I figure out, my way back into politics. And it honestly was a struggle, because I don't like being told what to do in that way, sitting in a cubicle farm, all of that. I just started realizing and unpacking as I worked in the corporate environment. Wow, this is a jail cell. This is like people are in cubicle farms, people are sitting here, and it's that you're doing the same thing every day. And I was like, I don't know if I could stay here and do this, but how they wanted to keep me and how they kept throwing themselves at us to make us stay is, hey, look at the benefits you have. And I can't deny the benefits are amazing. For an American to have insurance is a big deal. And I absolutely needed insurance, especially with like my pre-existing conditions, with me having to go to the doctors and me having surgery to have like cancerous cells removed. It's expensive. It's very expensive. So them throwing that at me, I'm like, oh, okay, I get to stay. But then I keep looking around at all the people, and I'm like, these people don't even have service on their cell phones to call their kids. And me being me, working in this environment, like I challenge the managers. And there's roundtable meetings, and they're like, "Oh, they got Rebecca in the room." And I remember my manager saying, he's not even the manager, he's a supervisor. He says, "Hey guys, I know you guys feel robotic, but you'll be our robots, and that's okay." And I was like, oh, hold on now. Oh, wait, hold on. Wait a second. Excuse me. Uh, are you calling the people here robots and saying that they're supposed to feel like just like they have no lives, no ambition, no anything, but they have to be robots and basically slaves for you guys? Is that what we're saying? And he said, yes. He looked at me and said, yes, that's it.
Rebecca,
Yeah.
that is again. You come into the narrative that not only what I talk about, but what I write about. Let me tell you something,
Ah,
okay? It's interesting
ah.
that I said, and you remember when black people used to be slaves? They had
Mm-hmm.
the chains on them or the whips, and I said, America no longer has just black slaves. America has black, white, and every other slaves because what you just talked about with the capitalist structure that you worked in is
Oh, yeah.
nothing more than antiseptic slavery, where most of the people, when you speak against that, the chains are in their minds. It's no longer on their wrists. It's
Mm-hmm.
the chains in the mind. And what
Yes.
what you what you do with your show is unchain the minds.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what is so important about having your presence there.
Yeah.
There are too many of us who just abide, too many
Mm-hmm.
of us who just acquiesce to the system, and
Yeah.
that's why it has lasted. And that is why I'm so impassioned with meeting folks like yourself and Ben and others that are out there educating other people, because that is how we are going to make a difference, not just for a few people, but as you merge these audiences and you go out there, you're talking about people listening and they're saying, wait a minute, Rebecca is a young woman just like me. Maybe I can be inspired
Yeah.
by her.
Yeah. Yeah. And Egberto, like, let me tell you something. I used to be somebody who had a chained mind. That's something that I was like, that's just a systemic thing. You don't even know that you're just going through every system from when you get to school, when you're being educated, and you're just going through. You don't even know that this thing is just naturally coming to you. I thought you were supposed to look a certain kind of way, talk a certain kind of way. At one point, I used to get, oh, you talk so well for a black person. And then I would tell them that I'm Haitian. They're like, "Oh, wow. And you speak another language? Wow." It was just all of that. And I thought, wow, I'm not normal. I have to, I can't be myself when I go into school. My father used to tell us, don't you go there and speak Creole because you know how they're going to do you. They're going to put you in Esau. They're going to put you in those programs where it's for kids who don't speak English. Things like that. They're going to cap you. And I went through the system doing that. Like they would do that to me. And then finally, when I got to college, it wasn't until I got to the HBCU that I was taught to break free from that mindset. They made us read a book called The Lies My Teacher Told Me, where I actually was taught about who actually how Columbus didn't found anything. He didn't there was nothing that man founded, but we celebrated him every year in our
Right.
education system. And so for me to break free of that, and then for me to go into the media space and have to break free of how I was taught to be in a media space as well, I wanted to show people that as like, hey, you can be unchanged, you can still
Girl,
do the work and still be okay. It doesn't matter how it's packaged. If you're doing it, if you're doing the right thing, it'll all fall together. It'll all come in line, and it's gonna be for some people considered radical, and
it's
it's
not
not
radical at all.
radical.
It's not radical. It's not racial. It is
Mm-mm.
real.
It
One of
is
the
real.
reasons that people don't want to talk about critical race theory, or talk about race in general in schools is that as young people, irrespective of race, realize what the genesis of this country was all about. The genesis of a lot of countries were all about. It was about dominion. It was about patriarchy. It was about supremacy. And all these, when people start to figure that out, the good kids, I don't care who you are, all these kids around are going to say, we don't want that. We
Mhm.
are all, we're all the same. We're all, and that is the biggest fear that these guys have. And that's the reason why they don't want to teach critical race theory, because suddenly all those white kids in school are going to say, all the things that my parents used to tell me is really crap. All
Yeah.
the things that I learned in history was really crap. I am supposed to revere people that considered me three-fifths of a person. I am supposed to revere people who said, I'm supposed to call these people great, that
Mm,
said, I'm going to make the whole Western hemisphere with people with melanin be less. I'm
yeah.
supposed to revere that. I am supposed to revere that. Oh, well, Columbus discovered America. I'm supposed to revere that somehow it was great to throw Indians off their land, sign a treaty. I'm supposed to say that we follow the law when we sign a contract with the Sioux Indians, and when we find gold on the Black Mountains, we kick them off the land.
Hmm.
If we are truthful, and this is not anything against any individual person, this is against a
Yeah.
system. And if we don't learn these things, we are not empowered. And again, you, Ben, and your cabal. I love DJ Triple X. Love DJ Triple X. He keeps me going, man. But but let me tell you, that is what we do. So look, Rebecca, I wanted you on. I wanted your spunk. I wanted your spirit. I wanted to make sure that people know who you guys are. I
Oh.
ask one question at the end of every interview that I do, and I say, tell me something that I should have asked you that I didn't.
Oh, this is such a good question. Um, let's see. Mm. Well, this is a simple one. This is because it's like it follows the get to know me. What are other talents that I do or have beyond media? Right.
Okay?
I sing for a Haitian band.
Really?
Yes, I sing for a Haitian band called 127. Formerly of the main singer for the group is formerly of the big group called Zin, Zin, where the main artist there was Alan Cave, who is an internationally renowned artist from Haiti, still living in Haiti. And so definitely I'm happy to be, a part of that where I can enjoy my Haitian culture. I also sing. So I also sing and dance. So that's my thing. That's how I keep my Haitian culture alive. And the music is a big, 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 big part of Haitian culture, and it's influenced things like zouk in the Ivory Coast in Brazil, like things like that. So yeah, that's what I do outside of media, and outside of working
Rebecca.
for corporate.
Well, but you know what? Pretty soon, when folks realize that like it or not is deserving of patrons through the gazoo, just like we here at Politics Done Right are trying to get patrons
Oh
through the
yeah.
gazoo.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
People are going to start. I think in the long run, we all get the support that we need to keep these types of platforms going, and then you're going to be able to say "Corporación, adiós." You,
Yes. Con
Cor-
corazón, adiós.
Adios. But look, Rebecca Azor, co-host of Like It or Not. Look, it's been my pleasure to have you on board. Thank you so kindly for being with us. And we are going to talk again, because you know what? There are certain subjects that are going to come up that I'm going to say, I got to get you on to put some context on that subject. Thank you so kindly for having been on Politics Done Right.
Thank you so much, Egberto, for having me. And I can get to talking. So, that like when you come on our show, I come on yours, and we just get the conversations going.
You
Thank you
got
so
that
much.
right. Thank you so kindly.
All right. You have a good day.
Man, I love her. She has so much spunk. When I'm on their show, it is all fun because she keeps things going. She keeps things going. Anyhow, we have a great continuation of the show, but since we are more than halfway, this is a time that I say, guys, if you are on YouTube, please support us by clicking that join button to become a part of our PDR posse. If you don't see a join button, or if you're not on YouTube, you can go ahead and click this button right here called politicsdoneright.com/YouTube, politicsdoneright.com/YouTube. That is a way for joining our PDR posse, currently run by the one and only Bridge MCP, who also designed our cups And how do you get our cups? You get our cups by that link that I have on the screen. And what does our cup look like? Do you really have cups and our mugs? And do they look good? Look at what Bridge designed. Please join our PDR posse. Just click on that join button in the YouTube screen or click on that link that I just put in the link, politicsandright.com/YouTube. Folks, we need 1,000 members. We're at 278 as of this morning. I think we're still growing. We're at 278. We need 1,000. And Patreon, we need 1,000 as well. politicsandright.com/Patreon, Patreon. politicsandright.com/Patreon, Patreon. I think we're only at 127. We probably, every now and then somebody's credit cards go crazy. You have a lot of those credit cards. Some of them are going to fail. And Patreon, I think that's a message I got on Patreon. A few of them have failed this last month. Please join our Patreon as well if you can. politicsandright.com/Patreon, Patreon. That is between you and Patreon. I see nothing. I don't see your information or anything, whether you come to us through PayPal, YouTube, or Patreon. I see nothing about your personal information. That is between you and PayPal, you and Patreon, you and others. Okay, let's see. And you can support us also via PayPal, politicsandright.com/PayPal, politicsandright.com/PayPal. If you shop at our store, if you buy our books at our store, I'll sign the book and send it with a bumper sticker. You can get our books at politicsandright.com/store. But if you want to go ahead and get our books directly from Amazon, all our books, including the audio books and everything else, can be found at politicsandright.com/books. politicsandright.com/books. Whatever you get from us, what you're doing is you're supporting the whole enterprise. And later on, I'm going to be coming for, I think we're going to have a GoFundMe for some mobile equipment. I think October, we're going to be trying to do the new net routes and all that kind of stuff. So we'll talk then. But anyhow, I want to thank you guys that are diligent and continual supporting. This is hard work, and we want to bring more people in. One of the other goals that I have, there's the Ben Dixon show and Rebecca with Tell It Like It. I Like It or Not, and a lot of other shows. One of my goals is to get all these different groups loosely connected. And the reason I say loosely connected is so that nobody loses their oomph, right? Nobody loses who they really are. And everybody likes a certain kind of audience the audience like a certain person or whatever. And the idea is to supersede what's being done by the corporate media, which really does a lot of misinforming or not informing. I shouldn't say misinforming. The misinformers are OAN, Fox News, and Newsmax. Those guys, though the messages coming out of them for all practical purposes is worthless, except for the news section of Fox News, which they kind of hide. Most of they hide. But the rest, it's not worth it. And what we want to do is we want to be that alternative. And we want to also bring in our conservative brothers and sisters. That's what we want to do. And so far, we've been doing a good job of it. I have some emails from some conservatives that kind of got on my case for saying a few things about conservatives. And I'm going to have a personal talk with them later on. Anyhow, did I get everything in? Yeah, I think I got the books and I got everything in. Okay, folks, you can go ahead and again, click on the join button to become a member of our PDR posse, or go ahead and go to politicsandright.com/YouTube, politicsandright.com/YouTube. Let's see, what is Eric saying? Eric says, come on, Egberto, call your left. Hey, wait, weren't you and I supposed to get some coffee pretty soon? Eric, I got to straighten you up when we get some coffee. Because there are a few things that I hadn't had the time enough to really shake you up on. Here, my conservative brother. But I need to give you a little shake up, brother. Let's see. Faravet. Let's go ahead and talk about Obamacare and the Supreme Court. Once again, and this is conservative Supreme Court now. And they could only get two of the conservatives who were willing to do the evil thing and take health care away from Americans. It just shows you that evil has a limit. The evil of the right actually has a limit. Check this out and then we'll take it on the other side. Obamacare lives. The Supreme Court is still attempting not to look at it as it is just a right-wing, bat crazy court. But rest assured that it didn't win because of the politics of the Supreme Court. It probably won because of the politics of pragmatism, and a loss of Obamacare right now would have ensured the entire defeat of the Republican Party in 2022, because what we would run on is the Republicans have taken away your health care and they are going to let you die. Check it out and then we'll take it on the other side.
For the third time, the U.S. Supreme Court has spared Obamacare from challenges, this time from a group of red states who said the individual mandate was unconstitutional and could not be upheld as a legitimate use of Congress's taxing authority because Congress had later set that tax penalty if you didn't buy insurance at zero. But today, in a 7-2 decision, the Supreme Court simply says that the states who challenged it didn't have the legal standing to bring this case. In other words, they've thrown the case out without ruling on the underlying issue. They basically say that the red states didn't demonstrate that they were injured enough by the Obamacare surviving to be able to bring this challenge into court. Now, the Supreme Court in recent years has been very picky about groups that can come into court, what's known for the lawyers as legal standing, and that's the basis of this decision. So this is not a decision on the merits. This is simply a decision saying these states didn't have the legal standing to bring this case. So what this does is it means that in the future, other states could try again this same legal challenge. And if they can find enough ways to get people together and cobble up another case, Obamacare could face yet another challenge. But for now, Obamacare survives again, a 7-2 decision from the Supreme Court rejecting this challenge without ruling on the underlying case.
While some lawyers are disputing whether other red states could cobble up some other reason to come up and go against what the Supreme Court said, which is that they didn't have enough standing, that they didn't show enough damage or whatever, I tend to agree with him. I do believe that the Supreme Court has left the door open so that when the economy is rejiggered, if somehow Republicans are able to take over the economy in some manner, that they could come and address this, and our path to single payer, our path to Medicare for all, they still leave the option, that conversion of Obamacare, which is easier to convert to a single payer system and Medicare for all, that sort of stuff, they would chop that path. In other words, that no part of that ruling makes it that possibility wouldn't occur. But anyhow, for the time being, Obamacare, once again, is safe. For the time being, again, Obamacare is safe. A lot of the more experts think otherwise. I just know that, at some point, things don't really matter to the Supreme Court. They'll change the laws just like they have recently. Anyhow, did you guys know that our good old JFK actually liked something to the effect of Medicare for all, or what's going on in Europe? You know, we've been having this fight for a long time. One of the reasons that we got the Powell memo to indoctrinate people, why we got the Heritage Foundation, the Cato Institute, all these organizations were formed to really indoctrinate and lie on the conservative side. In other words, they understood that as people became more intelligent, as Americans became more intelligent, what happened is they started asking a lot of questions. Why is it that I work so hard and the profits that are made from my labor goes mostly to some shareholders? You know, there's a chapter in my book, the new book, I don't have the time to look it up right now, where I talk about what economist Milton Friedman said, the guy from the Chicago Boys, the one that destroyed the economies in Chile and Argentina and other places, right? And what happened is this guy said it is the fool's errand for businesses to have any thought about being socially responsible. He said the executive's sole purpose is to make money for their boss. And who is their boss? The shareholders. And you do nothing about clean environment, nothing about good social values, nothing about taking care of employees. That's not your job. Your job, this is a capitalist system. Your job is to maximize the profit of the shareholder. Nada más. Nothing more. Punto y final. Even our good old JFK, the one fairly progressive person that folks on the right like to like, was on our side. Check this out.
In England is entirely different. In England, the entire cost of medicine for people of all ages, all of it, doctors, the choice of doctors, hospitals, from the time you're born to the time you die, are included in a government program. But what we're talking about is entirely different. And I hope that while he's here, he and Dr. Spock and others who have joined us will come to see what we're trying to do. The fact of the matter is that what we are now talking about doing, most of the countries of Europe did years ago. The British did it 30 years ago. We are behind every country pretty nearly in Europe in this matter of medical care for our citizens. And then those who say that this should be left to private effort. In those hospitals in New Jersey where the doctors said they wouldn't treat anyone who paid their hospital bills through Social Security, those hospitals and every other new hospital, the American people, all of us contribute 1/2, 1 or 2/3 for every new hospital, the national government. We pay 55% of all the research done. We help young men become doctors. We are concerned with the progress of this country. And those who say that what we are now talking about spoils our great pioneer heritage should remember that the West was settled with two great actions by the national government. One, in President Lincoln, when he gave a homestead to everyone who went west, and in 1862 he set aside government property to build our land-grant colleges. This cooperation between an alert and progressive citizen and a progressive government is what has made this country great, and we shall continue as long as we have the opportunity to do so.
Absolutely so. I mean, I listened to that. That could come out of the mouth of any progressive activist today. You have to ask yourself the question, what does it really take? What type of mental manipulation that under which some people are wired that allows what the Cato Institute, the Heritage Foundation, and the Republican leadership are pushing, which is materially detrimental to the health of the people who support them? What is it? How is it that they are wired to believe that? You know who wrote a piece about that? My good friend, Tom Hartman. He wrote a piece that they call, "Why is America the only developed nation with no right to health care?" He said, most Americans have no idea that the United States is quite literally the only country in the developed world that doesn't define healthcare as an absolute right to all its citizens. That's it. We are the only one left. The United States spends more on healthcare than any other country in the world, about 17% of GDP. Switzerland, Germany, France, Sweden, and Japan all spend 11%, and Canada, Denmark, Belgium, Austria, Norway, the Netherlands, the United Kingdom, New Zealand, and Australia all come at 9.3 to 10.5%. You know what the differential is, people? We are all Western countries with the same kind of Western illnesses. You know where that vast amount of money, the difference of that is trillions of dollars. You know where that money is? That is your money going into the pockets of those insurance owners, insurance company owners and executives, the hospital owners and executives, the medical supply owners and executives. That's where all that money goes. That's several $trillion of yours. When all those people that went bankrupt because they couldn't pay the medical bills, that's where it goes. And as Kennedy pointed out, what has been happening since then is we, the American people, are the ones who have paid the initial development of most drugs that you're using today, that you're paying an arm and a leg for. How do you think? How do those that just want to say Medicare for all is socialism and you don't get to choose your doctor, you don't get to choose? It's a lie. You don't get to choose your doctor now if you have private health care. If you have Medicare for all, you do choose your doctor. You have Aetna or one of these, they choose which doctors you can choose from that they will pay. And we can't see it. We are so ideologically blind. The right has been taught to hate so much that they can't see straight. They cannot see. You know, Biden has been given a hard time because they said the only person that benefited from Biden going out to talk to Putin is that he elevated Putin. Putin has a very small economy, smaller than Italy, smaller than California, smaller than Texas. Putin does. Why is Biden going to go meet with him? And it diminishes Biden. A lot of us lefties, we refuse to leave and to leave the right. I'm not a neoliberal like Biden is, but I like Biden. I like Biden's humanity. Because what Biden sees is the following. I will take the arrows. This is Biden. I'll take the arrows. I will allow them to say, look at how you're diminishing yourself, Biden. If me taking the arrows, talking to Putin, to let that little man feel a little bit okay, so that he does less damage to my people and other people around the world, I'll take the damage. For those of you who are Christians, and I'm not, I'm a humanist, but for those of you who are Christians, Jesus Christ, according to your literature, got nailed to the cross or whichever religion, either nailed to the cross or nailed to the stake. He didn't have to be. When those nails were going through, according to the history, he could have made sure he felt no pain or whatever, but he chose because he could, according to legend, to do it because he cared so much about others. And I'm going to give that to Biden. Biden didn't have to do Putin. He really didn't have to do Putin. He didn't have to. And I think in doing so, he comes out. People are going to say he elevated Putin, which is true. But he comes out a bigger human than Putin did. Now, when it comes to us dealing with those of us who can, I'm not saying everybody should. I will take the strikes from my right-wing brothers and sisters. I'll allow Daniel Ledo to knock me verbally and say whatever he wants verbally. Notice I said verbally. Verbally as much as he wants. And I'll try to convince him of things otherwise. I will. Because as I have in my other book, it's worth it. It's worth it if there are 1,000 right-wingers and I can get to a couple hundred. That's all I need. Because that couple hundred eventually will become a metastasizing event to others as well. Daniel says, okay, Berto, let's say I agree with you, your math argument about universal health care. Am I still blind if I oppose it on philosophical and ideological reasons? Yes, you are. If you agree with me on math, and you disagree with me on philosophical and ideological reasons, and that those philosophical and ideological reasons get people killed, you're wrong. That's what I'm saying, Mr. Ledo. For me, it's not about ideology in the case of saving people's lives. It's about saving people's lives. That's what it's about. It's about in Texas having over 2,000 people getting killed by Republican policy every year. That's what it's about. When I call the Republican legislature murderers and assassins, I am not saying that, I'm not biting my words. I consider every single Republican politician who voted against the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act killers, murderers, assassins, because they know their actions are going to get their fellow Texans killed. What our governor Abbott is doing with ERCOT is criminal. This summer, dozens, if not hundreds, of Americans will die. Hundreds of Americans will die because we put the profits of those corporate animals ahead of humanity. And with respect to abortion and a woman's right to choose what to do with her body, that is a personal decision, and that has to do with what is and when does life begin. We have a distinct definition of when that begins. I don't know what yours is. I know what mine is. But that is not for me. That is for the woman, for which her body is used as an incubator for other cells. That's not my doing. I leave that to the woman. And if you think it is your choice or your ability to tell another woman what to do or what she can carry in her body, that is not only presumptuous, that is wrong, that is evil. Period. Punto y final. Punto y final. Anyhow, folks, we're getting to the end of the show. Please support us. Please click that join button. Become a part of our posse. We really need your support. Please go ahead, and if you're on another network, please go to politicsdoneright.com/YouTube, politicsdoneright.com/YouTube to subscribe. Alternatively, you can support us on Patreon as well, politicsdoneright.com/Patreon, politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. Let's see, Bridge says there are dozens listed, but not who, let's see, medical treatment. They told me to go out of network. Yeah, right, $150 a month. And the plan, listen, don't believe anything about out of network when they tell you. What they're trying to do is offload their costs onto you, always. I didn't read I've missed something up front. Okay, and you can support us at PayPal as well, politicsdoneright.com/PayPal, politicsdoneright.com/PayPal. I didn't get to read all of your stuff today, my dear brothers and sisters. You know, sometimes I get into the pontificating mode. Sorry. Love you all. I thank you all for being here. I know you can be anywhere. And I tell you something. We are going, in the long run, we're going to win this battle. No, we're going to win, not the battle. We're going to lose a few battles. We're going to win the war. And this war is not something where you're going to see a lot of dead people. We're going to have a lot of enlightened minds. That is what we're going to have. You're going to see someday Brother Eric Hayes, Norman Reynolds, Bridge MCP, and Daniel Ledo. We're going to go out and have some coffee and slap each other's back. Okay? That's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. Look, guys, I got to get out of here. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you know how I end this baby. Oh, and also Roberto. And all of us in here. You know, I forget names, man. Anyway, my name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you know how I end this baby. I am what? Out! Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.